Lead and Empower Her with Dr. Julie Ducharme, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their stories and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Lead and Empower Her with Dr. Julie Ducharme is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Dr. Julie Ducharme.
Hey, are you looking to scale your business from 5 figures to 6 figures or 6 figures to 7 figures? If you are, I have the perfect thing for you. What I want you to do today is I want you to go download a book. This book is going to take you through my 3-pillar system. It's 100% free. All you have to do is go to growfast.cash. I say again, go to growfast.cash and you're going to be able to download my free international best-selling book, which is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. You can take that book. It's going to help you scale your business to the next level. Again, go download it. Be good, be brief, be gone. Growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. Enjoy.
Hi, I'm Dr. Julie Ducharme, and welcome to the She CEO podcast. This is a podcast where I get to interview women around the world doing amazing things in head leadership positions in every industry you can imagine. This is seriously one of my favorite things to do. I learn so much every time I bring on a powerhouse woman. And before we do that, since it's Christmas time, every episode I've been telling you guys something of my favorite thing to do for Christmas. Christmas is my favorite holiday, if you can't tell. Let me do this side. And so, love Christmas. And so we do a lot of fun traditions. And one of the things I do with my kids, and we've done it since they were very little, is we have elves deliver Christmas pajamas to the door Christmas Eve. And there's usually Christmas pajamas and also little slippers in there and a note from the elf. And I can't tell you how funny it's been to drop these things in front of the door, ring the doorbell, and then bolt out and run back around and be like, who's at the door? And have a little fun with the kids. So that's one of my other favorite Christmas traditions. And this will be our last Christmas episode before we start into the new year. So I hope that you're taking time to do something fun with your family, catch a breath, do some fun tradition or make a new one. So today our guest is Robyn Engelson, and she is an autoimmune specialist, nutrition educator, lifestyle transformer, speaker, host of the Robyn Engelson podcast, and best-selling author. She transforms lives around the globe by helping people be the best selves and retaining their mindset. Robyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Julie. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, and I'm so glad we got connected by Marnie, right? Marnie Schneider.
Yes.
Love her. Just love that. This is the power of women CEOs. Can I just say that for a moment, right? I love connect with a woman who's just been I got another amazing woman to connect you to and another. And what a great way to bring this together. So I'm so stoked that you're on the show with us today. And actually a very timely topic that we are going to be talking about today, mindset and health and balance. Gosh, New Year's coming in. People are evaluating, usually do this time to evaluate, what do I need to do? But before I dive too far into that, you have a story of how you basically came into this what you're currently doing. And I would love for you to share that. I think it's a really impactful story.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So, I have, at the time, I had a 3.5-year-old and trying to get pregnant with my second child and couldn't. So I went to an infertility specialist. I went in for blood work, and I came out with an autoimmune disease called Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid autoimmune disease. And although it's not life-threatening, it is life-changing. And so my antibodies were off the chart high, which is your hormone levels, and that's why I couldn't get pregnant. But I had some other health issues as well. So I started my journey, a 2.5-year journey of going to doctor after doctor after doctor, putting me on medication, taking me off, putting me on, telling me that my blood work's getting better, but I felt awful. So what happened is after I got diagnosed, Julie, I got sicker and sicker and sicker. I didn't have any symptoms before I got diagnosed. So I was in advertising sales and I had stopped my job. I couldn't work. I was lethargic. I was sleeping 10 to 12 hours a night, not a present parent. My hair was falling out. My nails were brittle. My body ached. I was literally miserable and literally existing, not living. And the doctors couldn't help me. And I ended up being allergic to the medication that they typically prescribe for Hashimoto's. And I discovered that on my own. And then I figured out how to, it's up to me, it's meant to be. So I helped myself. I found functional medicine, which is the whole body as a whole, got on hyperallergenic medication, as well as a compounded medication and supplementation that my body was deficient in. And lo and behold, I started to feel a little bit better, right? I started to a little bit better day by day. And then I figured out through my nutrition that I could fuel my body with the proper nutrition for my autoimmune disease. I could fuel my body with fitness because movement is medicine for my autoimmune disease. And I could change my mindset, a lot of positive change. And I found accountability partners that had what I wanted, that were a few steps ahead of where I wanted to be. And through that, I started to feel better. I started to be back outside, playing with my son, hanging out with my neighbors and my friends, and, getting back to work. And a couple of my friends and neighbors asked me what I did. What am I doing? Because when you're not feeling well, you're not social, you're not on social media, you're not talking to people, you're not hanging out. And I started to change that. So I said, I'm not really sure. I just fixed my nutrition and fitness, mindset, and accountability, and I feel amazing. And so I started helping a few friends and neighbors because they wanted what I had. And that's how I started my business that I've had for almost 15 years now, because they started to feel so good and got results immediately. And through 90 days, they literally changed the trajectory of their life.
That's powerful. And, it seems interesting to me that I run into more women than men that have these autoimmune diseases. And actually, as you mentioned, Hashimoto's, I could probably think of 6 friends right now that have that. And I'm curious if that leans any way more towards women than men or not. Have you found that in your research? I'm just kind of curious about that.
That's a great question. And yes, it is true. 80% of autoimmune patients are women. Mm-hmm. And it's mostly women in their 30s and 40s that get diagnosed after they get birth.
Yeah, that is really interesting. Well, because I know so many women who have this, as well as other, health issues and stuff like this, I think this is going to be a really great episode to dive into this. Especially with the new year approaching. I know everyone always puts fitness goals on, balance goals. In fact, I've been doing a lot of videos talking about balance in the workplace and how terrible I was at it and how it affected my health in a real negative way. But something that we'll jump back, because I was just mentioning off camera that we just recently did a webinar with 𝐓𝐘𝐒 on mindset, former NFL athlete, Super Bowl winner. And one of the things that you focus on is mindset as well. And I find this incredibly critical. Being a former high-level athlete, and mindset was critical in order for me to perform with that. And so trying to teach that has always been interesting to me, because it was something I felt that was kind of built in me and my personality, but very different from many others. So let's dive into, what happens when we change our mindset. How does mindset affect our lives?
Mindset affects our lives in all areas of our life, because when you change your mindset, you see things differently, right? Because the way we think is how we see things, how we perceive things. And when we're able to shift it, little micro shifts every single day, 1% better, we start thinking differently. So for example, if you're always complaining, always negative, right? If you are able to do the work, and the key, Julie, is the work, right? That you get to do behind it, to change your mindset, then you may start thinking of things differently. So something happens to you, it may not be the end of the world, maybe it's one day, no problem, tomorrow's the next day. And you start reframing things. You go from positive imagery you go from negative imagery to positive imagery. And the triggers are no longer triggers anymore. So you start to change over time. And mindset really is how you do anything. It's how you do everything. Being an athlete myself as well, discipline is mindset. Right? You want to be the best. I tell my son, you don't have to be the best. You just you'll practice everybody else to be the best. And that's where your mindset comes in.
I love that. Something that I dealt with when I was dealing with my mindset, and I want to just dive a little bit into this, is that when I was playing ball, I would have to do a lot of compartmentalizing, meaning that I had to walk onto the court and be able to put whatever was in having issues with kind of in a box, if you will, and how I kind of looked at it, and put that in the box to deal with later. But I noticed that oftentimes I did not go back to that box to deal with whatever I stuck in that box. And I saw a great analogy of like a room, kind of a hoarded room, and how that room can be your box of, anger or frustration or grief or other things like that. And so when I think about compartmentalizing, which is very much pushed very often by coaches, right? Like, hey, just stick in a box, deal with it later, right? How do we deal with that when we are trying to have this mindset, but at the same time, as you were talking about your son, compartmentalize and being able to get and perform in that moment without, maybe there's a serious family issue going on at home and you're trying to find that balance. How do you deal with that?
In order to deal with that, you have to be present, right? So, the past is gone, the future is unknown, but you get to live in the present, and that is your gift. So being able to compartmentalize everything, and really put that for the back order in the moment is key, because you're being present in that moment. So when the coach or boss or something happens, family, you get to say, okay, right now in this moment, I get to deal with this. And that's why I don't say have to. You get to deal with this right now, because then you're able to afford. And that's the mindset shift. And that is what's going to propel you to overcome your challenges.
Yeah, I like that. There's a really great way to view that. And I think that mindset obviously clearly can affect our health. I talked about when I was working in a stressful, very toxic company, my hair was falling out. I just had a baby 8 weeks previous to this new up level in my job. And I was very healthy when I had my baby. 8 weeks later, I remember going in and my doctor going, "What happened? You were healthier when you just popped out a baby versus now." And then as it progressed, it got worse and worse. And I realized that the toxicity that was coming into that situation, even into my mind, the things where he's saying to me that were very toxic, were literally physically affecting me. And I know you talk a lot about fueling your body with proper nutrition. How do you link the mindset with the proper nutrition for something like that?
Absolutely, because you have to have the mindset. You get to have the mindset in order to fuel your body with proper nutrition, right? So let's take a step back for a moment so people can understand. When you're in the cycle of dieting, 4 weeks you're good, then you bounce up, then you bounce back on, then you bounce up, do like a pendulum call, right? Or called hamster wheel. And most people are on, and most people will start again January 1st and die off before January 30th and wonder what's happening, right? So when we change our mindset, we're able to fuel our body with proper nutrition because we know what nutrition is going to serve us. We know how we're going to feel if we choose the sugar cookie or we choose the protein, right? We know how that's going to affect us in all areas of our life. So in order to understand your nutrition and fuel your body with proper nutrition, you get to have the mindset around food, it's fuel, and I'm fueling my body with the proper nutrition. Fruits and veggies are healthy for me. Excess fat is not healthy for me. Having soda every day is not healthy, but then I get to have my water with lemon or whatever you like, maybe some other fruit. But if you don't change your mindset around nutrition, then nothing's going to change because nothing changes. And most times, my experience working with clients is that it all comes from childhood. So they've been damaged from someone saying something to them. Oh, you don't need another cookie. You've eaten enough. Or, oh, you're always so chubby. Just have 5 cookies. It doesn't matter. Right? So that fits with us. But when we change that mindset from negative to positive, right? And that's not a trigger anymore. We know that we are full and complete. We are in charge of our bodies, and we get to choose the food that we fuel our bodies with because we change them.
Looking to grow your business beyond 5 figures, 6 figures, 7 figures plus, what I want you to do is go download this book. The title is called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. It will help you grow your business past 5, 6, and 7 figure. Go download the book today, growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and download the book for absolutely free.
That's powerful. I feel especially for women, of course, as we know, culture has always, at least in my lifetime, dictated that the thinner you are, the certain outfits you wear, the looks, they encourage, and I'm not putting down anyone who's had plastic surgery or tummy tucks or anything. I've considered it myself. I've considered the mommy makeover, right? Because the insecurity falls as we start to age. And, you look at yourself and go like, wow, this isn't the same body 10 years ago. And, I think about women as well. There's a big conversation right now happening with perimenopause and menopause that's never happened before, where women are really starting to speak out about the effects of it and how it affects your body and the struggles that are happening and the lack of information really on it for women. And so I think mindset is so important because I talk about this a lot in my book, and I'm excited to read your book that we'll talk about soon. But I really had to come to the conclusion that I was happy with me where I was at, right? And really realize, my body was built to play sports. And that means that my body is going to be bigger and thicker and different than a much smaller person. Not that small people don't play sports, but for the sport I played, it was a real plus and blessing to have my height and my size, right? So you have to, and when I stepped out of sports, it was suddenly like, oh gosh, I'm not around 6'5" people anymore. I feel really tall and big next to all these little people, right? But normally I'm walking around girls who are all 6'3" and 6'4" and 6'5", and I was the littler one at 6 foot. So I think a lot of times when we talk about mindset and the nutrition and health, you really hit the button there of like what people have said in the past to us really does, I think, affect that. And it's funny how we hold on to that. I talk about like someone who said something terrible to me and I held on to it for like 10 years, not like consciously, but eventually at some point subconsciously, I realized I'm doing that because 10 years ago, that real jerk told me this, and it should have meant nothing, but it did mean something. And so the power of mindset and how it affects your health, that's such a double-edged sword there. And I love that you're talking on that. I love that you say movement is medicine. I mean, wow, that's powerful because for me, how did I relieve stress? I went and played sports. I mean, that was my like peace, right? I have friends who their thing is running. Some of them it's lifting weights, but really powerful on the movement side. And can we talk a little bit about, a lot of times you say to me, well, I'm not athletic, so I can't really do that stuff. I kind of feel the opposite of that. I think we could all find some type of movement. What do you think?
I 100% agree. And I just want to touch on one thing too that I think is really important for listeners, Julie, is that when you shift your mindset, you no longer give people power over you. You have power over yourself. And that's when you know that you've shifted your mindset.
Yeah.
And movement is medicine. Yes, absolutely. You don't have to be leagues. Oh my gosh, not at all. Because when you think athlete, pro athlete, college athlete, everybody, you move your body, you are an athlete, right? Mm-hmm. Just you get to move your body, and what a blessing that is every day, because you may wake up in a year from now and not be able to move certain parts of your body, right? Mm-hmm. And all it is 30 minutes. It could be walking, your dog, walking in general, jogging, running, lifting weights, yoga, meditation, whatever that movement is for you, because movement is defined differently to everybody, right? And I'm with you, stress, I get on my bike. I lift weights, I lift heavy stuff, I just get it out in that, but everyone feels that medicine differently, right? Because it's a different medicine for everybody. But movement really is medicine. I was able to come off a lot with medication and supplementation because I started moving my body the proper way for my autoimmune disease. Even though I was moving it before, I was an cardio junkie, I have to say, and that was not serving me. And once I got diagnosed with my autoimmune disease, it's like cortisol, and then that increased stress, and then I get all out of whack. Now I lift weights, 3 or 4 times a week. I love it. So you just got to find something that works for you. And that is truly.
I love that. And so important, right? Like not everyone, I have some friends who are into like super intense cardio workouts and weights. And I'm like, I can't do that because of my knees anymore in sports. So I'm always looking at like, what can I do that's low impact? And of course, I live in beautiful sunny San Diego here. So I do a lot of paddleboarding, swimming, biking. Those are all like low impact things, but yet they're not only great for me mentally, like such a great break to hop out and do that, but it also allows me to still get some exercise in, but deal with the whole issue of, bad knees and stuff from being in sports. And I love that. I think anything we can do, getting out the door, I remember when I was working so much, I had a vitamin D deficiency. I mean, that's crazy, right? I mean, that I'm working so much, I'm not getting enough sun. So I love that. The next thing I want to talk about is your best-selling book that's out, Exhausted to Energized in 90 Days to Your Best Self. Let's talk about that. I mean, obviously, don't give the whole secret away of the book, but tell us a little bit about this.
Absolutely. So exhausted is a state of mind, and that could be from chronic illness, from pain, from trauma, from burnout at work, for job, for family. So it carrying a lot of different categories under the umbrella of exhausted, right? So what I do is I take you through 4 stages: the exhausted state, hope state, the work state, and then energized state. Then my story is intertwined throughout the book. And then I also integrate activities for you to accomplish hard work, right? Because if you don't do the work, nothing changes, like we mentioned before. So I really encourage people to take the 90 days to do the work, right? Because that's what's going to change you. 30 days to change the habit, 90 days to change your lifestyle. And it really is, like we spoke about prior, about your shifting your mindset, having accountability, fueling your body with proper nutrition, and finding the right movement for what works for you. So that's really what the book is about. The feedback I got in really is just amazing, because it's literally changing the trajectory of your life if you choose with small micro changes.
That is amazing, because I really think, as at least, and once again, don't want to downplay our male counterparts, but I feel like women overextend themselves on a regular basis. I wrote an article about that. 90% of household responsibilities still fall on the women, even with a significant other that is incredibly helpful. Because culturally, there's just certain things that I think we do as women that we do better than men, and we're supposed to do that. And I feel that our male counterparts have exceptional things that they do as well. But when I thought about that, and when I started researching that article, and then I started comparing myself, right? Like, always got to like look at myself and like, am I being a hypocrite about this? And I was like, no, it's right. Like, there's a lot of things I manage, which contributes to my exhaustion. And then, I really had to be mindful about the supplements I was taking. I really had to change my schedule, because I was making myself available for everyone all day long, all the time. And so I shifted my schedule, which, kind of sounds crazy, but it's usually a 9 to 2 thing. So it gives me time to get my kids ready, come home, eat breakfast, because I was skipping meals because I was just having back-to-back meetings. Gives me time to exercise and even do kind of my gratitude journal. And that really sets the tone for me for the day. Now, I'd love to say that's perfect all the time, but obviously not. Sometimes I have to meet with international clients, which means I got to get up really early or be up late, which is, of course, not an exception. But I found that, like, when I wasn't doing that, I would just go until I literally hit a wall. And then I'd like have to sleep for 12 hours, and not healthy. Right. And then, of course, like, as you said, I mean, we're moms, we're wives, we're CEOs, and we're trying to balance this all. And we can't be the best version of ourselves for any of those groups. And so, when I think about, you said 90 days, when I started this gratitude journal, I did it the first 30 days, like you said, habit. Then I went on to keep doing it for the next 100 days. And it was really interesting how it changed my approach every day to start with gratitude. I was really shocked, because everyone's like, oh, you need to do it. It's going to be so great. And I'm like, come on. I'm like a positive person all the time. I'm sure it's going to be great. But it really made me kind of dig deep and start to really go like, okay, wow, there's a lot more here that I can have, gratitude for. So I love that you're doing this 90 days, because it's so important, right? I mean, how often do we someone do 30 days and then they just stop? right? You were saying in January, everyone by usually, I mean, isn't it some crazy statistic that by January 31st, all the New Year's resolutions are like practically out the door?
Right, but they're still paying for the gym membership for 11 more months.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I think this is such an important conversation for all of us to have, especially as women. I just, I've become very aware of it because unfortunately, like I got myself into a not great health situation and realized that, my mindset for the situation, everything that was going on was not like great for me. And I needed to shift that. I was going to burn out so fast in so many different ways. And I still see women doing that today. And I know that we've definitely shifted it a bit, right? On mindset and how we approach it. But yet I still feel like women carry a much larger burden than their typical male counterparts when it comes to this.
I completely agree with you. I mean, I think it's just in our nature, and we're nurturers, right? So it's just in our nature to take on more by default and not even realize that we're doing it until we become burnt out, until we become exhausted, until we get sick, right?
Yeah.
So many times, I hear from clients and other women, it's like, I don't have a choice. I'm sick, I still got to go. My kids still got to get to school. They still need dinner, and then it just, a dominant effect to, self-care and what's happening with that. And I think, there's so much to be said also about with mindset, about self-care, because self-care is not selfish, it's necessary. And I love your morning routine. I have a similar morning routine as well. Like I got a little work around my son. But most people get up and look at their phone. And that's the worst thing you can do. So the activity right there, first and foremost, turn on the news, right? But so self-care, giving yourself time in the morning, giving yourself grace, being able to be grounded for the rest of the day. Maybe you get movement in the morning. That's what I do. After a great healthy breakfast, I just feel so energized. And I coach my clients to do that as well. It makes a huge difference when they do that in their daily routine. And so self-care is definitely important in order to be the mom, be the nurturer, be a woman, because otherwise you're going to.
Yeah. I appreciate oftentimes people don't want to share their story of the coming from one end to another. And I really appreciate you sharing that. I think transparency is so important for women who are looking to move into the types of positions that you're doing or I am doing. And so ladies, if you're looking for a really good reading on your break, which I'm going to be grabbing your book and reading it, what a great way to prep for your new year and start that 90 days, making sure to grab the book. And is it on Amazon? Is that the best place to get it?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. I'm exhausted to energized 90 days to your best self. And as we're coming towards the end of the podcast, first I want to make sure, I know you have other programs and great things you're doing. What's the best way for people to find you and connect with you, give you great reviews for your book and things like that?
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor to add value to all of the listeners today and have a conversation with you, Dr. Julie. People can reach me on my website, RobynEngelson.com. That's RobynEngelson. And everything's on there, as well as the link to my book on Amazon. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, the same name, Robyn Engelson.
Wonderful. And the last question I like to ask everyone before we head out is, if you could go back to your younger self and give your younger self advice, what would it be?
Such a great question. That you are capable of anything you put your mind to, because everything you ever wanted has always been met.
That's so powerful. I love, love, love that. Well, we will be putting all your links out there for those of you who are listening and thinking, I'm riding my bike, I'm working out, I can't get those links. Don't you worry. We're going to make sure to do that. All you ladies, I'm a big supporter of us supporting each other. So make sure you go out and grab Robyn's book and make sure you get that read in. Try out her 90-day program. I think that's excellent. And of course, we'll need to have you back maybe in the new year in 6 months and see how everything's going, what's happening in your world and all that's going on. But thank you so much for being on the show. And as I always say, live, love, laugh, and always be your authentic self.
Hey, we all want to scale our business. Hey, I have the answer for you today to help you do that. If you're looking to scale from 5, 6, even 7 figures and beyond, book called Be Good, Be Brief, Be Gone. I'm going to give it to you for free. All you have to do is type in growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash, and you can download the book for absolutely free. I hope the book helps you this year. Take your business to the next level. Again, go grab the book, growfast.cash. I say again, growfast.cash. I wish you the best and grow, scale, and win.
Thanks for listening to Lead and Empower Her with your host, Dr. Julie Ducharme. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we'll see you on the next episode.
There it is. Magnum. Holy moly.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
Dear